Hi, everybody, and welcome on the Good Data Morning Show. My name is George.
And I'm Deanna.
And please feel free to say hello as you're coming in, and do let us know where you are joining from, as it's always wonderful to see and learn of the diversity of our audience. Today, we have an amazing show. We're going to talk about how to design data and AI governance, and not any AI governance, but one that delivers value. So if you are enjoying the show, please click the like button, put in your comments, your questions related to the topic, put in your feedback and any knowledge that you might have on it from your own experience. Anything is welcome. So let's welcome our guest onto the show. Hello, Mario.
Hello, George.
Welcome. I have the pleasure of doing the introductions. So our guest today is Mario Cantin. He's the founder and the chief data strategist of Prodago. Mario has worn many hats in his career as a programmer, analyst, architect, DBA, information technology manager, project manager, framework developer, entrepreneur, and strategist. Now, before founding Prodago, Mario has held a variety of data leadership positions with notable companies such as Cirque du Soleil, National Bank of Canada, Desjardins, Government of Canada, and Rogers as well. And I counted, out of these years of amazing experience, 20 years were spent by Mario in data strategist positions. He is a respected expert in his field and a sought-after speaker and a passionate communicator. Mario, I love very much how you say in your bio on LinkedIn, I speak fluent geek, executive, marketer, banker, auditor, and change resistance sign language. That's amazing. Now, Mario's thought leadership on data governance and data management has left its mark on multiple audiences and influenced key actors over the years. His focus of the last 10 years has been data and analytics governance, and more recently on how to use governance to mitigate the risks created by pervasive application of advanced analytics and artificial intelligence, which is also our topic for today. And working with international organizations like Gartner and industry thought leaders, he developed the Lean data governance approach and the subsequent lean data and analytics governance operating model. He holds a master in business administration from HEC Montreal and a BA in mechanical engineering from École Polytechnique. And Mario also likes scuba diving. Welcome, Mario.
Welcome.
Thank you for receiving me. Thank you.
Mario, that's an impressive resume, to say the least. And as Diana was going through your resume and really addressing AI and your expertise and experience in this, it sort of reminded me of the time when I was a teenager and I was reading all these sci-fi books, and more notably, I was reading Isaac Asimov's books, and which I don't know if any of you have read them. Dan, I think you have read at least one of them, The I, Robot. And obviously, there's a lot more, like Caverns of Steel and the Foundation series. But I think the iRobot one really struck a chord with me. And I know we're not yet there in the world that Asimov was describing. We're not at that AI level, but still organizations need to start thinking about this. And they have already started working with some sort of an AI in a way or another.
Right. So then the question rises, why is AI governance important?
And that's an important question. And George, you're right. I remember the three fundamental law of robotic by Isaac Asimov, and I think these law, the purpose was to put some boundaries on the influence and the impact of artificial intelligence, and now we're right into this. Okay, we see the need to govern AI. This is strongly something that strongly impact our organization. We see people that are strongly advocating the fact that AI needs to be governed. So why does it need to be governed? I would say the first element that's very understandable is we need to govern the usage of AI. We need to make sure that the way AI is going to be used, the way AI is used by the organization, we need to put boundaries on what's okay and what's not okay in the usage of AI. So this is a very strong requirement and something where we need to put focus. We need to define the boundaries of AI usage. You've heard probably about the fact that AI or facial recognition could be used to create weapons, okay, or where weapons would target specific people. So is that okay? Do we want to go there? So we need to define as a society what's acceptable in the usage of AI. That from a society perspective, from an organization perspective, is it okay for an organization to use Facebook data of its client in order to define a next best offer and to create an adjusted proposal? Is it okay? Okay, and if it's okay, what type of consent should be asked? So the usage of AI from a society perspective and from an organization perspective needs to be governed. We understand this, and the possibility of strong society failure because of this are very real, and we need urgently to think about this. So that implies mostly defining principles that we need and boundaries. So Isaac Asimov, I guess, suggested these 3 laws as what's acceptable and what's not accessible, putting like a framework to do this. But we see the worldwide many AI principle declaration. Okay, we have the Montreal Declaration in Canada, which strongly tries to define what's okay, what's not okay. And we see many organizations defining internally what they consider to be responsible AI, okay, and they define internally what they consider to be acceptable or not in the usage of data. Now, the other aspect of AI that requires governance is a little bit more tricky. It's about the design of AI. So organizations who define themselves a principle about what they consider to be okay, not okay when they do AI, they need to govern how internally their AI model are being designed. And this is tough, okay? This is tough. And the impact of not governing the design of AI are very important for organization, okay? So organization, the first step, probably definitely defining enterprise positioning on ethical and responsible usage of AI. First thing. Then, how operationally is this implemented? Okay, and this is where my focus as interest is. I'm not an ethicist, okay, but definitely tackle the challenge of putting AI principle in operation. So how do you operationalize this? This is a very, very big challenge, the operationalization of AI governance from the design perspective. Now, why is this important? Because many organizations that undergo AI initiative fail because they are not able to govern the design of their AI. They're not able to operationalize it. So it leads to, project failure. Okay, we've worked with clients where they've developed 50 proof of concept on AI, and they have none in production. Not because the model are not good, because they fail to truly trust the output. They fail to trust it from a security perspective. From
and
an
Mario,
ethic,
was it also related to the data that the AI model was based on as well, or was it just a security piece?
So the component, and I've got a slides for you, George, that you could present. So how do you get to trust AI? So I present here the three, what we consider to be the three pillars of AI. So the first pillar, which is the one, organization they understand quickly, okay, and they're being impacted. We need AI to produce the desired output, okay, and definitely if the data is not good, okay, you won't get the right model. And people involved in creating model know this, and they feel this. They say, okay, I'm building a model, the output is not delivering the expected result because of poor data quality. So the data quality management is something that needs to be governed, okay. It feeds the effective pillar of trust, okay. So being effective is, what we consider the first pillar of trusted AI. Now, that's one thing, but there are other pillars. So your AI not only needs to be effective, so the trustable in terms of, okay, I trust the quality that feeds the model. I trust the process and the quality of the training data set that led to the creation of the model. But trust will also come from the fact that your AI will be compliant to different laws and regulation. You want your AI processes to be compliant to privacy law. Okay,
right.
You've got privacy law that are popping up everywhere around the world. Okay, we know GDPR, we know CCPA, we know LGDP in Brazil, we know Canadian law. We've got the Privacy Act that regulates the Government of Canada departments. We've got PIPEDA that regulates private organization. You need to make sure that within your AI processes, you have the right controls and checkpoints and validation element to make sure your AI will be compliant from a regulation perspective. So privacy is one angle. Security is definitely one angle of compliance on which you need to align. The perspective also of your AI needs to be principled. So you could build AI processes that are effective, a good model. You can be compliant to laws and regulation. You also want to be principled. What does that mean? Okay, you have the Montreal Declaration that suggests what's right, what's not right, how to enforce it. You might have internally within the organization your own AI or ethical data management principle. Okay, this is not a compliance element. This is an organization that would choose to be principled in the way it governs, in the way it manages AI, and this principle aspect can lead to element of risk. So an organization that would use data in an unethical way to feed its AI processes could face a reputational risk by not being principled in the way it creates AI.
Go ahead, Diana.
That's a lot, and that's amazing. And I wanted to say something. So from just to emphasize your points here. So the way that I understand it is that when it comes to being effective, it has to do with the company and how it runs its processes. When it comes to compliant, this is something that is not a choice, that absolutely needs to be done. And when it comes to principled, it's what is suggested to be done. So it comes to ethics, if I understand this right. And what I know is that you have, I think, over 1,000 best-in-class operating practices, which I find amazing. So if you could give us an understanding what Prodago does with all of this.
So the idea is we face this challenge of AI governance, and so you see organization wants to be effective, to be compliant, to be principled. Now they face the challenge of operationalization, and just before I explain how we tackle this, let me share with you why organization fail at governing their AI design. Okay,
and a lot of them.
So what's the problem? Okay, so you want to be effective, compliant, and principled. You've seen in the previous slide that it implies data quality, privacy, security, fairness, and different ethical aspects that needs to be managed. So if you look at all these trust capabilities, the challenge organizations are facing is there are many fragmented pieces. Okay, so all these aspects of privacy, of security, of fairness, the challenge is the operationalization. So, okay, you can understand all these pieces. The question is, what does this mean for your AI project? Okay, so if you have an AI, your AI group is creating model, what does it mean operationally to be aligned with all these trust capability? What they need to do in real life? Okay, and this is my obsession. Okay, it's the operationalization of these angle. Okay, how do you bring this to life in your AI processes? What does it mean? The impact of not having an end-to-end framework above all these pieces is what impacts organization. Okay, so they might understand this. They might have that type of framework. The question is, what does it mean in real life for their AI governance processes? So many fragmented pieces, no cookbook. You know, the AI lead that undertake the creation of a model. What's the cookbook? What needs to be done throughout the data science lifecycle in order to produce the trustable output? So this does not exist. Okay, so the impact is, and we see this all the time. Okay, let's take an example from government of Canada. Okay, so you undergo, and this is a public information. So you undergo the creation of a model to take a decision on visa request. Okay, and you create the model, and you're about to put this in production, and then you consider the explainability of the model. You're being, the legal team is saying, if we put this in production, can we explain the decision? And the answer needs to be a part of the plan. Okay, you need, when you create a model, to worry and think about the explainability requirement. So explainability is not just a technical thing on how to explain how a black box works. Okay, governing explainability means the business needs to approve and define the expected level of explainability. It needs to understand how the chosen AI model, what's the associated explainability linked to the model, and needs to approve it, needs to be involved. So what's missing here is the playbook on how to do this. So Diana, to answer your question, what we do at Prodago is that we've created, yes, a portfolio of governance operating practices. So we're in the detailed. Okay, so we took privacy and we've detailed exactly how throughout the different processes of AI, of a data science lifecycle, what are the control points for explainability, for privacy, for fairness, for data quality management, okay? What are the governance control points throughout the life cycle in order to provide a cookbook for organization? So yes, we created this registry of operating practices, governance operating practices on the topics we've shown earlier, okay, in order to make your AI efficient, compliant, and responsible. We've defined the governance checkpoints throughout the data science lifecycle because we consider this is where it hurts, the non-capacity to tie all the pieces together to create a true operational playbook around this. So at Prodago, we've created a portfolio of governance operating practices. We have something like 1,500 operating practices. So it might seem a lot, okay? The idea is we've also segmented these operating practices by level of maturity. So what it means is that you look at what's required in terms of governance checkpoints throughout your AI lifecycle, but we've segmented these operating practices based on your AI adoption stage. So if you're in the experimentation phase within your organization when dealing with AI, you don't need all the governance checkpoint, but certain ones are essential to move from experimentation to stabilization. So we've created this vast registry of operating practices. We've segmented the operating practices based on maturity level, and we've created a software at Prodago to help organization to undertake the transformation effort. And when I say yes, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you, just for our listeners and for the people watching, could you give us some examples that are safe to share of these practices and of maybe also the KPIs for them, just to give us an idea?
Absolutely. So when I say we're very detailed, so let's take the example I gave earlier about explainability. Okay, so explainability is a trust topic that's key. The objective is to make the AI model transparent and explainable. So basically, for the subject of explainability, we've defined something like around 75 detailed operating practices around explainability. So an example of explainability operating practices would be the definition of explainability requirements by the business. So this is an operating practices. So what it means is someone in the organization needs to define the explainability requirements. Okay, and it's not going to be the data engineer or the data scientist. So most probably the sponsor of the AI initiative needs to be the owner of this operating practices, which is the definition of explainability requirements. So the business will define or must define the level of explainability required from the model that's going to be developed. And this operating practices needs to be instantiated or executed early in the data science lifecycle. Okay, the inability to do this will lead to a model that might be developed and that basically cannot be explained, and this will stay a proof of concept and not being employed. So an example of operating practices would be the definition of explainability requirement by the business. So what we're saying is that these operating practices needs to be defined and they need to be governed. So what it means is an AI initiative would need to know what are these control points throughout the data science lifecycle for explainability and privacy and data quality management. they would need to make sure that the right roles and responsibility are assigned to execute the operating practices. So this is what it means. So we're saying at Prodago, it's not the data that needs to be governed. It's the processes and the people that manage the data. You want to govern data management. So how do you do that? How do you govern explainability? Well, you define operating practices. You define the role and responsibility to approve and execute these operating practices related to explainability. So definition of explainability requirement is an operating practices. Now, the attestation that the developed model is in line with the requirements would be another example of operating practices related to explainability. So we're in the details, but this is what kills AI initiative, the inability to translate high-level regulation and translate this in operating practices. The other perspective we find very important is that we take all these operating practices related again to privacy and security, and we, for each operating practices, we identify the risk inherent to not doing it. Okay, so that becomes very important. Okay, it's basically your business case to do it. So you have the full picture of the operating practices that needs to be implemented, okay, aligned with your level of maturity. And for each operating practices, you're aware of the ethical risk or the privacy risk inherent to not doing it. So that becomes a business case to do it, and it becomes a priority element to define your implementation roadmap.
That sounds very thorough and very useful. And, I've never seen this before on any other sort of service or product that offers this. So I dare to say that I believe you're quite new in this space. You're quite a pioneer at providing this level of service and this product that you're offering. I wanted just to take a moment here, Mario. Just wanted to say hello to the audience. Thank you so much for joining in. We do have people all over the place, starting from India. Hi, Vishu. And hello, Diana. Hey, you have a fan there. We have Rajat from Toronto and Vinka from Ireland. Hi, Ayush. Very nice to see you again from Mumbai. Quite a few other people from Toronto as well. Of course, fellow neighbors here, Boston and Saudi Arabia and Germany, Maryland, US, Portugal, Pakistan. Well, it's really amazing to see all of you, and thank you so much for joining us on the show. And yes, there's a lot of geek talk here, but we're all geeks in a way, aren't we? And we're loving it. So I wanted just to take some questions as well from the audience. And the first one that I see here comes from Tom. Hi, Tom. Very nice to see you. Thank you for joining on. Would love to hear the transition from mechanical engineer to data and analytics. Seems natural to me, but would like to hear Mario's side.
The transition from mechanical engineering. So when you say mechanical engineering, I guess the perspective of an organization transitioning to the governance of data and analytics. But so I'm not sure I understand the question exactly, but let me share a perspective of transition here. Okay, so let's say an organization is currently doing basic business intelligence. Okay, it moves through doing advanced analytics. It aspires to do AI. So what does it mean, this transition from the different types of analytics? So throughout the different category of analytics, what does it mean, this transition? Basically, some governance operating practices are common to all these aspects. So whether you're doing BI, advanced analytic, or AI, certain elements regarding privacy will need to be addressed, whatever and however you do this. But as you want to transition and mature in your analytic capability, okay, you'll need to enrich your governance operating practices with elements that are specific to different types of analytics. So as you mature, you will want to refine your analytic and your governance operating practices, and planning these thresholds is a key success factor to be able to build these new types of capability within organization. So you want to define in terms of governance what's required to move from advanced analytic to AI. You want to understand the threshold and the difference in terms of operating practices.
Thank you so much. And Donabelle says thank you as well for sharing your input. And she does have a question. If Prodago has an ethics committee, or is it something that you're planning to maybe introduce at one point?
We don't have an ethics committee within Prodago, but we work with multiple partners who are ethics specialists. Okay, we work with the Canadian CIO Strategy Council that has defined an ethical standard called the Ethical Design and Use of Automated Decision System. So we work with authorities like IVADO or the MILA for Humanity group that defines what they consider to be ethical, and we're supporting them in operationalizing their ethical principle and ethical consideration. We also work internally in organizations that have ethical committee, and we assist these ethical committee in operationalizing the principle that they might have defined.
Thank you. And Belkacem is asking if you think that government should intervene in regulating the AI work.
Absolutely. I've mentioned the two angles, the usage of AI and the design. So on the usage of AI, I think there's an urgent need for parameters about AI usage. I truly see the potential important risk inherent of not putting the right parameters around the usage of AI. I also think that organization needs to be more specific, and they're starting to do this about the governance of the design. Okay, so it's not about only the usage, it's about how to make sure when organization build AI model, they do this in a compliant way. And you see, this happens through multiple new regulation. You see the new version of PIPEDA on the privacy angle will involve many elements that are specific to automated decision making and to AI. So new regulations are coming in already around the different components of AI governance, and I see this as a very urgent need.
Thank you, Mario. And Manju here has a question as well. How does data design and AI governance ensure that AI-powered decisions made and actions are reasonable, fair, and non-discriminatory?
It's like the AI governance from our perspective will put the framework. Okay, so you might have the best framework in place. Okay, you might have all the right processes. So in order for this to truly deliver the expected value, first you need these processes to be fed by strong principle on which organization executive truly endorse. Okay, your AI principle in the organization must come from the top. Okay, this is not just another legal checkpoint in consideration. They must come from the top. They need to be endorsed. So this is key. So endorsement from the direction. You need the processes to be in place, and you need naturally, in order to support this, you need the right structure. You will need the committees. You will need the right responsibility to tackle this. You will want to have executive leadership around this. And the most important part I see is, as you define an operational framework, I think the key to make it work are the accountabilities. So you want the clear accountabilities on the processes. This is very good lever to make it work. Okay, you want this to be transparent. You want the responsibility to make your AI processes reasonable, fair, and non-discriminatory. You want the specific responsibilities for the specific action to be well defined. Okay, that becomes a way to make it to bring it into actions.
And on that note, Robert from UK here, I think he was also mentioning that maybe you do need to keep a human override if the decision needs to be challenged. So I think what you were mentioning, Mario, on the accountability and the transparency, there always needs to be that human factor in that has really control over these outputs and the entire process as well. There needs to be visibility.
Absolutely, and if you think back about the slides I've shown about the trust pillar, effective, compliant, and principled, and the 8 trust capability. The 8th one is human and control. Okay, so you need to ensure that depending on the model you build, you have the right level of implication of human in the review of the decision. And this is something that needs to be governed. So if you're creating an AI model to define the next best offer for your client, okay, maybe the decision of the model doesn't need to be reviewed by a human. But if you're taking a credit decision, or if you're taking a visa decision request, okay, you certainly need to consider the level of implication of human in the decision that is made. So the human in control or human in the loop element is an element of governance that needs to be required. So for this perspective, we've created dozens of operating practices to operationalize this. So when do you decide this? Who makes the call? Okay, how is it put into action? How do you audit these processes? So you need to decline this into specific operating practices, and the question is very pertinent, because this is an element that's being overlooked, and it's impacting many AI initiatives because it's not there, because it's not planned in front. So when the AI initiative is about to deploy, then you're getting resistance from the people involved, because they feel out of the loop internally, from an employee perspective or an ethic perspective.
I have a question. Oh, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Just wanted to pose this question from Russell, that data privacy laws are usually per country, and they're likely to become more fragmented. And would it be far preferable, although a lot more challenging, to implement this as a global standard? And I think the answer would be yes, but I don't want to take from your answer, Mario. But I think while this is in the works, is Prodago allowing you to compare the operational implications for each country?
Oh yes, and this is cool stuff. If you like this kind of stuff, okay. So what does it mean? So if you look at the privacy law as they were created in the past 10 years, okay, you can see a very clear trend in how the level of constraints that comes with this regulation. So as new versions are coming in, okay, the regulation becomes more and more constrictive. So GDPR did set a very clear level, and other regulation are coming in there, and they're trying to add this type of regulation. So I think it's a good idea to allow organization, to allow countries to, build on top of what already existed. I see a very clear challenge to try to define this at a worldwide level. So, but how do you, as an organization, keep alignment with all these regulations? So what we do at Prodago is we took element of regulation like GDPR, and we've aligned our operating practices to each statement of GDPR. So this is like creating an operational playbook for GDPR. It's decoupling the operational playbook from the laws and regulations. So we've done this for GDPR, we've done this for PIPEDA, we've done this for CCPA, for Brazilian law, for Quebec law, okay? And when you do this, when you decouple the operating practices from different laws and regulation, it allows to compare the operational requirement from one law to the other. So it gives the capability to the Chief Privacy Officer to understand the operational implication of new regulation that's coming. So this is very, very cool stuff, okay? And it can happen because in Prodago, we go at a very detailed level of granularity. It allows to decouple the operational requirement from laws and regulation to understand what's required to operationalize and to be more agile to face new regulation. Very good question.
Thank you, Mario. And Diana, I think you had something to say. I also want to mention that we're a little bit past our time here, so want to just be cognizant of that. But Diana, I think you wanted to say something as well.
I had, again, a question regarding the most common challenges that organizations face with AI governance. But I would really appreciate, some examples of where companies fail most at AI governance.
I would say, the main challenge I see is fragmentation. So the security aspect, the privacy aspect, the model risk aspect, the data quality, all these governance angle are managed by different sector, by different stakeholder in the organization. I think, from the governance perspective, I think this is a legacy of past data-related regulation, like Basel, who basically confined the role of data governance to data quality and data literacy. Okay, so now we have the impact of this. So the privacy, the security, the ethics, the quality perspective are managed in different sectors. And the main challenge I see is, how do you coordinate these efforts? How do you really bring collaboration between the Chief Privacy Officer who wants to enforce a privacy regulation, the Chief Data Officer who needs to act as a conductor around operating practices, and your Chief Analytic Officer who wants to deliver trustable outputs? So they lack the common language to do this. And what's very cool, if you find this cool, is when you bring the capability to unified data governance through operating practices. So we see the operating practices as a unifying language that basically enables collaboration. And we bring the focus not on the data itself, about data quality, data issue management, and data lineage, okay? We bring the focus on the processes. And by doing this, it allows and enable an increased collaboration. So main challenge is collaboration, not because they don't want to, because they lack the raw material on which they need to collaborate. They focused on data as the collaboration material, and it's not the data that should be the focus. It's the processes and the people that manage the data.
That's a very good point. It's putting humans in power and empowering them to do the right thing and to aim towards those business goals that they're trying to achieve. So Mario, I think this has been an amazing session. There's a lot more questions that did come up. I think we could talk about this for hours, and I see you're very passionate about this stuff. So we definitely need to have you back again in a few weeks, and maybe we can talk further on the data governance side of things as well.
I wanted to say thanks. Sorry to interrupt you, Mario. I wanted to thank Mark Eric, for answering all of the questions that came up that we didn't have a chance to answer to. I know that he's one of your colleagues, and he answered everything very beautifully and very knowledgeably, and I'm very grateful for that. I wanted to congratulate you for your amazing team, Mario. I looked at their bios. They all have over 20 years of experience in strategy. So I think it's a very, very strong team, and that's really important. And I think I wanted to encourage everyone to visit Prodago.com. Can you please remind me what Prodago comes from?
Well, Prodago was founded 7 years ago, and Prodago initially meant project data governance. Okay, so the idea of focusing on specific context to identify governance requirements. So that was the initial meaning of Prodago.
Very nice. It's easier to remember when we know this. And I encourage everyone to get in contact with you and with Mark Eric Larocque if they have more questions.
Absolutely, and I would like to thank you, Diana and George, for this great discussion and the way you conduct this. Thank you very much, and thank you to the audience for participating.
Thank you so much, everybody, and we're looking forward to see you all again next Friday morning for another great show. And we're definitely going to have Mario back on the show to talk about data governance and really see where the conversation will take us, like today. But definitely AI governance, to take a look at the Prodago, see what they offer. It seems like it's a great company, great product, great offering. And to me, it feels like any and every company needs to take advantage of this. So thank you again, everybody, and have a wonderful rest of the day and lovely weekend ahead. So good data morning to everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.